I probably got involved in the foundation a little later. Actually, I think when Becca got on the got involved, she got me involved, and I think that it's been I was on the foundation board for 18 years, so I was engaged in it for a long time. And I was chair of the Ritz a couple of times. Mike and I chaired it. We co-chaired it. I don't know that I ever did it by myself, but and we had a lot of good times doing that. But I think it's evolved over the years from, it started out as a fairly smallish event, not small, but much smaller than what it is today. And it's over the years, it's evolved and changed, and I think that's one of the successes of the Ritz is that we've been willing to allow it to change over time and not get stale, and try to find ways to enhance what we do and raise a little more money and invite a few more people, and so I think that's been real effective.
Yeah, the very first Ritz was held at Scotch Meadows, and we were limited in space, and it's a nice venue for us to decorate it and make it be something special. It was a real challenge because there are other events that are out there, and we worked really hard. We put in a lot of effort to do that, and it was very nice. And then each year after that, in order to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit better, we started to add tents, and we added a small tent out back the second year, I think, and then we added a larger tent the third and fourth year maybe, and then the Highlands became available, and we decided that we would move the event, and so we went out to the Highlands, and then we added a tent at the back of the Highlands, and then we outgrew that and came over to campus. And
that was the 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary.
We moved to campus.
So we got tent, and then we got a bigger tent, and then we got a bigger tent, and it just continues. It continues that way. What a lot of people don't realize is how much work goes into that preparation. The week before, the 2 days before, solid work. How many volunteers show up on Fridays and Saturdays and put in a number of hours to get that facility, the tent, ready, dressed up. Every table, every chair is set up, wiped down, and that's done by volunteers. That's amazing. All the silent auction is handled by volunteers. A lot of work setting that stuff up.
I cannot count the number of times that these two have left setting up 30 minutes before they were supposed to be back and go home and put on their tuxedos and I can't count the number of years that they've done that. All of us have done that to a certain degree, because it does, you think you've got it all ahead of schedule, and all of a sudden it's 4 o'clock on Saturday, and you know what happens? The lights go out. Right?
How many times have you changed into your dress at the hospital?
Absolutely.
Didn't have time to go home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike and I could be a few minutes late, but you kind of had to be there when it started.
That's
so
exactly right.
We could go home and change and come back at 6:30 and still be okay.
Yeah. I couldn't be late when it was my job.
Right.
One of the growing pains that I was trying to think of things that had happened, and one year there was a terrible rainstorm, but it didn't start raining until after the indoor-outdoor carpet was down, the tent was up, the carpet was down, and we came out on Saturday morning, and when you stepped on the carpet, water came up onto your shoes, and there was so much humidity. There were like streamers, swags inside the tent. They were so full of water that we could walk and touch them. It was, what are we going to do? And so we dumped all the water out of those streamers, and we found a company to come and vacuum, literally do water demolition kind of stuff. But that is the year that we decided we would have a floor over the asphalt, because if it rained again, we wanted water to run underneath the floor and not over the top of it.
Well, we've always struggled with weather. You know, I mean, it's been really cold. You know, it's been in the 20s a couple of times when we were there, and it's been in the 80s and 90s sometimes when we've had, you know, so it's been, we've sometimes needed air conditioners and sometimes we needed heaters and
Sometimes both on the same day.
Right,
Exactly,
right,
exactly.
so,
We used to do it based on the ACC football schedule. That's when we would pick the date. We'd look at the schedule, see when there were not a plethora of home games. And then we had a year that there was a hurricane sitting off the coast. And it was about 100 degrees and about 120% humidity. And it was insufferable. I mean, it was really miserable. And at that point we said, let's move it out a little bit, see if we can avoid some hurricanes. And that's when we moved it to the first weekend in November.
And we just quit paying attention to the football
That's
because
right.
by that time, we had, the supporters basically were, they could choose between us or the football game, and in a lot of cases, they would choose to come to the Ritz. It gave us a stable date that other people could plan around as well, because that was important, that because there are other big events that are going on in Scotland County, and so by us being consistent, it made it easier for them to plan their events as well. And that's what we do. We all work together. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, that was a good
I think
choice.
one year we ran into Relay for Life or something, didn't
Absolutely.
we? I
we
mean,
did.
which, you know, that's two huge events right there together, and we were trying,
Well, actually, Relay for Life used to be 24 hours.
yeah.
So Stuart Thomas, who was chair of that, and I
It
was
used to
the
be all
director,
weekend.
we agreed that we would support each other's event. So I went to Relay and spent the night out there. And then Stuart, after spending the night out there, came to the Ritz. It was, but yeah, that happened a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that was a big time that people had to choose, you know, which one they were gonna support. So, yeah, we were looking at pictures before you got here, and Mike mentioned Mr. Morgan, but I don't think you can talk about the Ritz, especially the early days, without talking about Jimmy Morgan and his orchestra. He just brought a level of class and professionalism to it that was just really special, particularly for our donors who were in his age group. They really, really, really enjoyed that. And then as I look at the pictures behind you, I see Bill Fitzgerald, and I see Hewitt Fulton, and I see Betty Hasty, and I see, you know, lots of other people that have been incredibly supportive of the Ritz, of the foundation, of the hospital, of lots of organizations in this community over time.